then until they come up with a new conference, or?
Well, they're attempting to have a new conference for next year, right?
Okay.
And because we'll be continuing with the competitive conference through all of next year, again, to honor the decision SUFAC made. It's not clear where that funding's coming from because you guys didn't vote on it, right? SUFAC didn't vote to fund it. And it's not in the budget line of the College of General Studies budget. We're gonna find funds to take care of our portion of it for next year. But beyond that, it's not funded.
Okay.
And so I don't know what WCC will be doing. They're a separate entity coming up with their own charter and own business model.
Okay.
Does that help?
Oh, yeah.
In the email it mentioned that you guys said that it was low participation rate between both campuses. Just speaking based off of what I've seen through my year and a half here, that our campus and Waukesha campus were considered to be the two most, what word can I use? Competitive in a sense. We were considered the threats of the conference. I mean, this year may not have spoken for us, but through the years we've been like the threat of the conference. Now with Washington County and Waukesha both being close to the Milwaukee area, we are at risk of losing more students than we already are to, say, Bryan and Stride and MATC, where they're still considered playing competitive sports. And then I know Bryan and Stride offers scholarships. So what do you guys plan to do on that?
Well, if we don't have a competitive conference, we won't be recruiting students to come in for a competitive conference athletics.
I'm not saying necessarily recruiting students. I'm saying like a lot of students came here for the opportunity per se, like, okay, they have a good season here and maybe they can still link the film out to like an NCAA D3 or like NAIA D1 or D2. That opportunity is now gone, so you're losing like another 10% students.
It will, yes, acknowledging it will be gone here, but those opportunities still exist in the area. Yeah, there'll be club sports, but you know that's for I think some of our athletes who are hoping to kind of jettison into something bigger. It won't have quite the feel of the WCC. Certainly won't be the NJCAA feel, which is a junior college athletics association.
Do you think that this change will benefit the athletes here and at Waukesha? Do you think that this change will be a benefit to them at all in any way?
So what we're trying to do is figure out a solution to benefit students at large, and not just 60 students who are playing competitive athletics, but the 700 students who are on this campus. That's where our focus is what's the best thing for all the students on the campus. And 60 students is a relatively small percentage of the students on this campus who can play the competitive athletics.
Okay.
And for those on SUFAC, right, you know what the cost of that program is, and you know basically how much each student athlete is of that budgeted portion.
Okay, understandable. All right, Deb, if you would like to give a few words. Come up here so you guys don't all have to turn your heads.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak today and putting me on the agenda. My premise here is just to inform you, student government, because you are the voice of our students here, about the importance of athletics. The mission of the university started in 1968, 50 years ago. And the idea behind it was to allow area students, communities, Washington County, to be able to have the same benefits and experiences at a 2-year campus as if they would have gone to a 4-year campus. And some of those benefits are being on student government, athletics, fine arts, lectures, part of a club, and also at one time we did have child care reimbursement plan, believe it or not, on our campus. So there were many things that you could do here, stay home, work, get a quality education, get a 2-year degree, and still participate in a sport that you may not have been able to at a 4-year school. That was kind of the mission when it started in 1968. Currently, we offer 7 sports. We've got the women's volleyball, the men and women's golf, the co-ed soccer, men and women's basketball, men and women's tennis. We are the only campus that consistently offers over the 7 sports, consistently. There was 3 non-consecutive years that we did not have women's basketball. So out of the 50 years, 47, we have had 7 sports, which is about 94%, which is pretty darn good rate. I came here and I graduated in 79 with an associate's degree. I am a two-sport athlete, and I love this campus. Okay, I came back in '85. I started just coaching the women's volleyball program, and then in '92, I became full-time, being the associate women's athletic director and student activities coordinator. So I understand student government because I used to run it. I love what I do. So you can kind of do the math because you're all kind of college kids here, so I don't have to tell you the math part of it. What does sports bring to UW-Washington County? It brings recruitment and retention. And you turn those around, and that means dollar signs for our campus. It also brings in individual learning skills, as far as I'm concerned. You've got leadership, organization, time management, commitment, respect, and lifelong friendships. Over the years, I have seen people not from any school together, not even from the same conference that they played, become here, whether it was volleyball, basketball, tennis, become friends, and eventually standing up in their weddings. How cool is that, that you would not have gotten had you have gone to a four-year campus? And I'm not saying four-year campuses are bad, they're great, but this is such a good start, and the added benefit is having the athletic programs onto our campus. Like I said, student government, you're the voice. You were elected by your peers to represent them. So what you need to do is start asking questions. And two of them were already answered that I was going to have you ask, but two already. The other two are you for athletics? As a body, are you for athletics? And if you are you willing to contest the decision? And if you are, then you need to find out what are the policies and procedures? Maybe there are some, maybe there isn't, I don't know. But maybe to contest what are the policies and procedures? Who at UWM, if they're the ultimate decision maker for our campus, who would you talk to? And what do you think that they would need? What kind of document or resources would they need if you wanted to fight that? So again, my premise is to let you know that athletics is important. It is important to our campus. It's important to our student athletes. We've had athletes in the past, because they were here, took all their information and actually got recruited to a D2. One got recruited to a D1. It's a small D1, but it's still a D1 school, to play basketball. How cool is that, to actually have our students here recruited to play at a bigger school? And they probably wouldn't have had they not gotten their start here. So all I'm asking is if you have questions, ask them. And if you don't think it's the right answer, just keep asking more questions until you feel comfortable that the decision was made was the best for our campus, because it will not only hurt us now, but it'll also hurt us in the future and in the long run, because it'll be a hard job to try to bring athletics back 5 or 10 years down the road if it goes away. And I'm not saying we have to have all athletics. I'm saying you could look at a pared down schedule. I know the conference had talked about paring down, where we'd have women's volleyball, men's basketball, and men and women's tennis. Your gender equity, you have you have 2 sports in each season. You tackle all the major sports that we have here. That would really cut the athletic budget down almost in half by eliminating that. There's other ways to fundraise, which I was never asked. You know, he talked about the $2,000. I did not know about it when I submitted my budget back in October. Had I known about it, that would have been a line item. Had I known that they said, you know, Deb, you don't have it in a line item, I would have came back and I could have talked to student government and said, hey, this is what's coming. Are there funds available? If not, I could try to fundraise funds or come up with another source for them. But again, I was never given the option. I was never talked with, except for the one time when I was asked for numbers from Courtney, which I did get, and then we had a small conversation on what it may look like in the future. That was the only knowledge that I had. So when I was told about it, along with Adam Lagacki, the athletic director from Waukesha, I didn't know it was coming. So I couldn't formulate any questions in advance to ask them. It was kind of like, okay, here you go, and I'm like, okay. And then afterwards, it's like I had all these lists of questions, and, you know, I wasn't sure. So I figured, with you being the voice of the students, you were the ones to come to. So thank you for letting me give a little presentation.
Thank you.